The massive alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a dark metal moon. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the TCS Defiance, watching the Zephyrian vessel through the main screen. The alien ship was 3 times larger than his warship, covered in strange blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien vessel," said Ensign Tony Clark from his communication station. His young face looked worried as he adjusted his headset. "Put it through," Morrison replied. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady eyes. 20 years of military service had taught him to stay calm, even when facing something completely new. The screen flickered and showed an alien figure. The Zephyrian ambassador was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. Its large, black eyes stared at Morrison with what looked like disgust. "Human captain," the alien spoke in perfect English, though its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Council. I bring a message from the 12 great empires that rule this galaxy." Morrison crossed his arms. "I'm listening. Your species has spread too far, too fast. You have taken worlds that do not belong to you. You have built colonies in systems that were claimed long before your kind learned to make fire." The alien's 4 hands moved as it spoke, making strange gestures. "The Council has decided. Humanity must withdraw from all contested systems within 72 hours. And if we refuse?" Morrison asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then every human world will burn. Every human ship will be destroyed. Your species will be erased from the galaxy." The alien's black eyes seemed to glow. "We have done this before, Captain. 16 species have defied the Council. None exist today." The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Morrison looked around at his crew. They were all young, most of them fresh from the academy. They had joined the space fleet to explore new worlds, not to fight impossible wars. "Sir," said Commander Amy Foster, his first officer. She was a small woman with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. "Admiral Grant is calling from Earth Command." The screen changed to show Admiral Lisa Grant, a stern woman in her 50s who had commanded the Terran Defense Force for 10 years. Behind her, Morrison could see the busy command center where dozens of officers worked at glowing screens. "Jake," the Admiral said, using his first name as she always did in private. "I assume you heard the alien's message." "Yes, ma'am. They want us to abandon half our colonies." "That's not going to happen." Grant's voice was hard as steel. "The President has made his decision. We're not backing down." Morrison felt his stomach tighten. "Admiral, they're sending 200 ships against us. Our entire fleet has maybe 50 vessels, and most of them are cargo ships with weapons bolted on." "That's why you're getting special orders, Captain." Grant leaned forward. "Take the Defiance to Kepler Junction. Make your stand there." Kepler Junction was a point in space where 3 major trade routes met. Whoever controlled it controlled access to dozens of star systems. It was the perfect place for a battle, and the worst place to die. "Ma'am, with respect, 1 ship against 200 is suicide." Grant smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Jake, you're not commanding just any ship. The Defiance is special. Dr. Rodriguez will explain the details, but trust me, you have advantages those aliens have never seen." Dr. Sam Rodriguez was the ship's chief engineer, a brilliant man who had designed half the systems on the Defiance. He was also Morrison's oldest friend, dating back to their days at the Naval Academy. "Admiral," Morrison said, "what aren't you telling me? The aliens think they know what human ships can do. They've fought our cargo vessels and patrol boats, but they've never faced a real Terran warship." Grant's eyes were bright with something that might have been excitement. "They're about to learn the difference." After the transmission ended, Morrison called his senior officers to the briefing room. The room was small and plain, with a metal table and chairs that had seen better days. Dr. Rodriguez arrived first, carrying a tablet full of technical data. Commander Foster came next, followed by Lieutenant Ben Hayes, the ship's helmsman. "All right, people," Morrison said as they sat down. "We've got 72 hours before the biggest fleet in galactic history shows up at Kepler Junction. I need to know what we're really dealing with." Dr. Rodriguez set his tablet on the table and activated a hologram. It showed the Defiance in detail, with various systems highlighted in different colors. The aliens build their ships for honor combat, Rodriguez said. Single ship against single ship with rules and traditions going back thousands of years. They use energy weapons and shields, just like every other species in the galaxy. Except us, Foster said. Except us. Rodriguez smiled. We built the Defiance the way humans have always built weapons, to win at any cost. The hologram zoomed in on the ship's weapon systems. Instead of the elegant energy cannons the aliens used, the Defiance carried what looked like simple metal tubes. Kinetic projectile systems, Rodriguez explained. We fire tungsten rods at 15% of light speed. The aliens have never seen anything like it. Lieutenant Hayes, a young man with nervous energy, raised his hand. Sir, what about their shields? Energy shields stop energy weapons. They don't stop chunks of metal moving at relativistic speeds. Rodriguez's smile grew wider. Their shields might as well be made of paper. Morrison studied the hologram. The ship looked different from the sleek alien vessels they had seen. It was built like a fortress with thick armor and redundant systems. Every line spoke of human engineering, practical, brutal, and effective. There's more, Rodriguez continued. Our engines use nuclear pulse propulsion. We can accelerate and maneuver in ways that will make the aliens dizzy. Their ships are fast in straight lines, but they turn like cargo haulers. Foster leaned forward. What about crew training? Morrison looked at his first officer. Foster had trained with the best military units on Earth before joining the space fleet. She understood combat in ways the aliens couldn't imagine. That's our real advantage, Morrison said. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We know how to kill efficiently. The meeting continued for 2 hours as they went over every system, every weapon, every possible tactic. When it ended, Morrison felt something he hadn't expected: confidence. The aliens were coming with 200 ships and thousands of years of galactic dominance, but they had never fought humans before. They were about to learn that Earth's children brought more than technology to the stars. They brought war itself. The TCS Defiance moved through hyperspace like a silver arrow, cutting through black water. In the ship's engineering section, Dr. Sam Rodriguez stood before a group of junior officers, explaining what made their vessel different from every other ship in the galaxy. Gather around, Rodriguez said, his voice echoing in the large engine room. The walls hummed with power, and blue light from the reactor core cast strange shadows on the metal surfaces. Time for your education in human engineering, Lieutenant. Ben Hayes stood with the others, his pilot's uniform still crisp and new. Next to him was Chief Petty Officer Rita Johnson, a tough woman who had served as a Marine before joining the space fleet. Dr. Alex Turner, the ship's doctor, took notes on his tablet while listening. Every alien ship in the galaxy follows the same basic design, Rodriguez began, activating a hologram that showed various alien vessels. They're built for beauty, for tradition, for showing off their advanced technology. Look at those smooth curves, those elegant weapon pods. The hologram changed to show the Defiance. The human ship looked like it had been built in a factory that made hammers. Every surface was functional. Every line spoke of purpose over style. We built our ship the way humans have always built tools. Rodriguez continued. To work, to last, and to kill when necessary. Rita Johnson raised her hand. Sir, what about their weapons? I heard alien energy cannons can melt through 10 meters of steel. True, Rodriguez nodded, but they're designed to fight other energy weapons. Watch this. The hologram showed an alien ship firing bright beams of light at another vessel. Shields flared and sparked, but eventually the target ship's defenses failed and it exploded in a ball of fire. Beautiful, isn't it? Rodriguez said with a grin. Very impressive, very civilized, and completely useless against us. The image changed to show the Defiance's weapon systems. Where alien ships had graceful energy cannons, the human ship mounted what looked like oversized shotguns. Kinetic projectile systems, Rodriguez explained. We fire chunks of tungsten metal at nearly light speed. The aliens have never seen anything like it because it's too simple, too crude for their advanced minds. Dr. Turner looked up from his tablet. How much damage can a piece of metal really do? Rodriguez's smile became predatory. Ben, you're our pilot. Tell the doctor about kinetic energy. Lieutenant Hayes straightened up. Sir, kinetic energy equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. A tungsten rod weighing 1 kilogram, fired at 15% of light speed, hits with the force of a small nuclear bomb. And their shields? Rodriguez asked. Energy shields are designed to deflect energy. They'll barely slow down a physical projectile. Hayes was getting excited now, understanding the implications. It would be like trying to stop a bullet with a flashlight beam. Rodriguez nodded approvingly. Exactly. While they've spent centuries perfecting energy weapons and energy defenses, we've built the galactic equivalent of a slingshot. David and Goliath, ladies and gentlemen. The group moved to another section of the engine room, where massive machinery hummed with contained power. The nuclear pulse engines were the size of buildings, their cores glowing with barely controlled fusion reactions. Standard alien propulsion uses gravity manipulation, Rodriguez explained. Very smooth, very efficient, very predictable. They accelerate in straight lines and turn in gentle curves. Chief Johnson studied the massive engines. These look different. Nuclear. Pulse propulsion. We literally explode tiny atomic bombs behind us and ride the shockwave. Rodriguez patted one of the engine housings affectionately. It's violent, dangerous, and completely insane by alien standards. Dr. Turner looked worried. Is it safe? Define safe. Rodriguez laughed. It won't blow up the ship if that's what you're asking. But it lets us do things that will make alien pilots throw up in their helmets. Lieutenant Hayes was studying a control panel, his eyes wide with possibility. Sir, with this much power we could pull maneuvers that would break apart other ships. Now you're thinking like a human pilot, Rodriguez said proudly. Aliens fight like gentlemen. They line up, exchange fire, and the best technology wins. We're going to fight like humans. They moved to the ship's armor section where layers of advanced materials covered the hull. Unlike the smooth surfaces of alien ships, the Defiance's armor looked like overlapping scales. Adaptive armor, Rodriguez explained, running his hand over a section of the wall. It learns from each hit and redistributes the impact. The more they shoot at us, the harder we become to kill. How is that possible? Dr. Turner asked. Nanomachines in the armor matrix. They analyze incoming damage and restructure the molecular bonds to resist similar attacks. Rodriguez's eyes gleamed with pride. It's like the ship gets angry when you hurt it. Chief Johnson nodded approvingly. Sounds like marine armor. Gets tougher the longer you fight. Exactly. We took lessons from every human conflict and built them into this ship. Rodriguez led them to another section. Rita, tell them about boarding procedures. Johnson's face became serious. Sir, alien ships aren't designed for internal combat. Wide corridors, open spaces, lots of fancy decoration. They expect boarding actions to be formal affairs with rules and honor codes. And human boarding actions? Fast, violent, and designed to take control as quickly as possible. Johnson's voice carried the confidence of experience. We train for ship-to-ship combat the way Marines train for building clearing. No rules except winning. Dr. Turner was taking more notes. This seems very aggressive compared to alien methods. Doctor, Rodriguez said quietly, let me explain something about human evolution. Every other intelligent species in the galaxy evolved from prey animals or peaceful herbivores. They learned to be smart, to cooperate, to avoid conflict. The group listened intently as Rodriguez continued. Humans evolved from persistence hunters. We chased our prey across continents until it collapsed from exhaustion. We climbed to the top of Earth's food chain not by being the biggest or strongest, but by being the most persistent and the most vicious. Lieutenant Hayes was beginning to understand. So when aliens fight, they're going against their basic nature. But when humans fight, we're doing what we were born to do, Rodriguez finished. The aliens are about to face a species that spent millions of years perfecting the art of war. The tour continued for another hour, covering every system that made the Defiance unique. the communication arrays that could coordinate multiple ships in real time, the damage control systems designed by people who understood that ships got hurt in battle, the medical bay equipped for combat injuries rather than routine illnesses. As they finished, Dr. Turner raised one final question. Dr. Rodriguez, do you really think one ship can defeat 200? Rodriguez looked around at the young faces surrounding him. These people would soon face the largest fleet in galactic history, and they needed to believe they could win. Doctor, let me tell you about the first rule of human warfare, Rodriguez said. It's not about the size of the force, it's about the will to use it. He gestured toward the ship around them, to the weapons and engines and armor that represented humanity's answer to an impossible challenge. The aliens are coming with 200 ships because they think like civilized beings. They believe that overwhelming force guarantees victory. Rodriguez's smile was cold and confident. They're about to learn that humans don't fight fair. We fight to win. As the group dispersed back to their duties, each officer carried with them a new understanding of what they were part of. The Defiance wasn't just a ship, it was humanity's declaration that Earth's children would not go quietly into the dark. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when persistence hunters learned to build starships. The alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace at Kepler Junction like a swarm of metal locusts. 200 ships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. War Commander Zeth Kalar stood on the bridge of his flagship studying the tactical display with satisfaction. Magnificent, he said to his second-in-command. 400 years I have commanded fleets, and never have I seen such perfect order. The Zephyrian ships moved with practiced precision, taking positions that had been used in galactic warfare for thousands of years. Energy weapons charged to full power, shields shimmered to life, and communication arrays linked every vessel in the fleet. War Commander, his tactical officer reported, we detect one human vessel at the center of the junction. It appears to be waiting for us. Seth Kalar's forearms moved in a gesture of amusement. In all his centuries of warfare, no enemy had ever been foolish enough to face his fleet alone. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Aboard the TCS Defiance, Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien armada deploy on his tactical screen. The enemy ships moved like dancers, each vessel taking its assigned position in a formation that stretched across thousands of kilometers. They're beautiful, Commander Amy Foster said from beside him. Look how precisely they move, like a parade, Morrison replied. Ben, how are we looking? Lieutenant Ben Hayes gripped his pilot controls, his young face tight with concentration. All systems green, sir. Engines ready for full burn on your command. Tony, open a channel to the alien fleet, Morrison ordered. Ensign Tony Clark's fingers danced over his communication panel. Channel open, sir. Morrison stepped forward, his image now being broadcast to every ship in the alien fleet. He was a plain-looking man in a simple uniform, unremarkable except for his steady eyes. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran Warship Defiance. You have entered human space without permission. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. On the alien flagship, Zeth Kalar's officers burst into what passed for laughter among their species. The sound was like wind chimes made of broken glass. The human thinks he can order us to retreat, Zeth Kalar said. Open a channel. Let me speak to this amusing creature. The war commander's image appeared on the Defiance's main screen. He was tall and elegant with purple skin and 4 graceful arms. His black eyes held the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. Human captain, Zeth Kalar said, his voice carrying the authority of centuries. I am War Commander Zeth Kalar of the Galactic Council Fleet. You face 200 warships with the finest crews in known space. Surrender now, and your death will be quick. Morrison looked at the alien commander for a long moment. Then he smiled, and something in that smile made Zeth Kalar's confidence waver slightly. War Commander, let me explain something about humans, Morrison said. We don't surrender. Tony, cut the channel. The transmission ended. Morrison turned to his crew, seeing the tension in their faces. These young people were about to face impossible odds, and they needed to believe they could win. "All hands, this is the captain," Morrison announced over the ship's communication system. "In 5 minutes, we're going to show the galaxy what human warfare looks like. Every person on this ship volunteered to serve. Every person on this ship is here because they believe in something worth fighting for." He paused, looking around the bridge at his officers. "The aliens think they know what we are. They think we're just another species with weapons and ships. They're about to learn they're wrong. We're not just another species, we're humans." Lieutenant Hayes felt his heart racing as he prepared for combat. The alien fleet was moving into attack formation, their energy weapons beginning to glow with deadly light. "Ben," Morrison said quietly, "remember your training. Remember what makes us different." "Yes, sir," Hayes replied. His hands moved over the pilot controls, feeling the massive power of the nuclear engines responding to his touch. "Amy, weapon. Status?" Commander Foster checked her tactical display. "All kinetic projectile systems charged and ready. We have tungsten rods loaded and targeting solutions locked." "Rita, damage control?" Chief Petty Officer Rita Johnson's voice came over the communication system from her station deep in the ship. "All repair teams standing by, sir. We're ready for whatever they throw at us." The alien fleet completed its deployment. 200 ships in perfect formation, their combined firepower capable of destroying entire planets. War Commander Zethkalar raised one of his 4 hands, preparing to give the order to attack. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet, "commence firing. Destroy the human vessel." 200 alien ships opened fire simultaneously. Beams of energy, bright as miniature suns, lanced across space toward the lone human ship. The combined firepower was enough to vaporize a small moon, but the Defiance was no longer where it had been. "Now, Ben," Morrison shouted. Lieutenant Hayes slammed his controls forward, and the nuclear pulse engines erupted with controlled fury. The Defiance shot away from its position like a bullet from a gun, moving faster and more erratically than any ship the aliens had ever seen. The alien energy beams passed harmlessly through empty space where the human ship had been just seconds before. On the Zephyrian flagship, tactical officers stared at their displays in confusion. "Where did it go?" one of them asked. "There," another pointed. "It's moving behind the asteroid cluster." The Defiance wove between chunks of space rock, using them as cover in a way that violated every principle of civilized warfare. No honorable ship would hide behind debris like a primitive animal. "Follow it," Zethkalar ordered. "Box it in." The alien fleet began to move, their ships turning with the graceful slowness of vessels designed for beauty rather than maneuverability. They expected the human ship to emerge from the asteroid field so they could engage it properly. Instead, something impossible happened. The first alien ship to explode was a heavy cruiser on the fleet's left flank. One moment it was moving to intercept the human vessel. The next moment, its entire forward section simply ceased to exist. There was no energy beam, no explosion, just sudden catastrophic destruction. "What happened?" Zethkalar demanded. "Unknown, War Commander." The ship's forward shields and armor were penetrated by some kind of projectile. Before anyone could respond, another ship died. Then another. The alien fleet was taking losses from an enemy they couldn't even see, let alone target effectively. "There," Lieutenant Commander Pete Davis shouted from his weapons station aboard the Defiance. "Direct hit on their 3rd cruiser." The human ship had emerged from the asteroid field at an angle no alien tactician had considered possible. While the enemy fleet maneuvered like a formation of graceful dancers, the Defiance moved like an angry wasp, striking from unexpected directions. Morrison watched his tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Amy, continue firing. Ben, keep us moving. Don't let them get a solid lock on us." The tungsten rods fired by the Defiance's kinetic weapons struck alien ships with devastating effect. The enemy's energy shields, designed to deflect energy beams, might as well have been made of paper against chunks of metal moving at relativistic speeds. War Commander Zethkalar watched his perfect formation dissolve into chaos. His ships were trying to engage an enemy that refused to fight according to the rules of civilized warfare. The human vessel appeared and disappeared among the debris, striking and vanishing like some primitive predator. All ships, concentrate. Fire on the asteroid field, he ordered. Destroy everything. The human cannot hide if there is nothing to hide behind. 200 alien ships turned their weapons on the space rocks, vaporizing asteroids in brilliant flashes of light. It was a magnificent display of firepower, and completely useless. The Defiance had already moved to a new position, using the aliens' own ships as cover. Lieutenant Hayes piloted their vessel with a skill that came from understanding three-dimensional movement in ways the enemy had never considered. "Tony," Morrison called to his communications officer, "broadcast this on all frequencies. I want every species in the galaxy to hear what I'm about to say." "Channel open, sir." Morrison's voice carried across space to every alien ship, and through them to every world in the galaxy. His words were simple and calm, but they carried a weight that would change galactic history. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran Warship Defiance. To all alien species listening to this transmission, understand what you are witnessing. This is what happens when you threaten humanity. This is what human warfare looks like." Another alien ship exploded, its hull torn apart by kinetic projectiles that its shields couldn't stop. "Your war commander brought 200 ships to destroy one human vessel. He is about to learn that numbers mean nothing when you face a species that evolved to hunt." War Commander Zeth Kalar felt something he had never experienced in 4 centuries of warfare. For the first time in his life, he was afraid. War Commander Zeth Kalar stared at his tactical display in growing horror. His fleet of 200 ships was being systematically destroyed by a single human vessel that seemed to appear and disappear at will. 43 alien ships had already been reduced to floating debris, and the enemy showed no signs of slowing down. "War Commander," his tactical officer reported, voice shaking with fear. "The human ship has vanished again. We cannot maintain targeting locks." "How is this possible?" Zeth Kalar demanded. "No ship can move like that. No single vessel can face an entire fleet." On his flagship's main screen, space erupted in another brilliant explosion as the TCS Defiance emerged from behind a destroyed cruiser and fired its kinetic weapons into the engine section of a Zephyrian destroyer. The enemy ship broke apart like a toy struck by a hammer. Then something happened that made Zeth Kalar's blood turn cold. 5 more human warships decloaked throughout the star system. Captain Jake Morrison smiled grimly as he watched his tactical display update. The other ships of the human fleet had been waiting in perfect position, their advanced stealth systems keeping them hidden until this moment. "Tony, open a channel to all human vessels," Morrison ordered. "Channel open, sir." "All ships, this is Morrison. Execute pattern alpha. Time to show them what pack hunting really means." Across the star system, 5 more Terran warships came to life. Each one was similar to the Defiance but designed for specific roles in the coming battle. Captain Roy Kim commanded the TCS Vengeance from his position near the system's outer edge. He was Morrison's old roommate from the Naval Academy, a quiet man who understood space combat like a poet understood words. "All right, people," Kim announced to his crew. "Time to herd some sheep. Helm, bring us around behind their main formation. Weapons, prepare kinetic spreads." The Vengeance moved with the same impossible agility as the Defiance, its nuclear pulse engines allowing maneuvers that defied alien understanding of physics. The ship positioned itself behind the enemy fleet like a wolf moving to cut off escape. Roots duck. Captain Nina Brooks commanded the TCS Retribution, and her ship had been designed for a very specific purpose. Where other human vessels carried kinetic weapons, the Retribution mounted boarding pods and cutting beams. "Brooks to all ships," she announced on the tactical frequency. "I'm seeing some nice command vessels in that formation. Time to take some prisoners." Her ship accelerated toward the alien fleet center, where the largest and most important vessels held position. The Retribution's role was to capture enemy commanders alive, so humanity could learn everything about galactic military doctrine. Admiral Marcus Cole commanded the entire human fleet from his position aboard the TCS Sovereign. He was a thin man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles, but his voice carried absolute authority when he spoke. "All ships, remember your training," Cole broadcast. "We are not here to fight honorably. We are here to win completely. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The alien fleet, which had been magnificent in its perfect formation, began to fall apart as human ships struck from 6 different directions simultaneously. The aliens had prepared for traditional fleet combat, where vessels lined up and exchanged fire until the better technology won. They had not prepared for pack hunters. War Commander Zeth Kalar watched his tactical display with growing despair. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, but not like any fleet he had ever seen. They moved like predators surrounding prey, each vessel knowing exactly where the others were without seeming to communicate. "How are they coordinating?" he demanded. "We detect no communication signals between their ships." His communications officer was frantically working at his station. "Sir, they are using some kind of quantum entanglement network. Their signals pulse faster than our equipment, can intercept or decode. The human ships communicated like a pack of wolves, sharing information instantly and silently, while the alien fleet relied on traditional radio communications that could be intercepted or jammed. The humans used technology that made their coordination impossible to disrupt." Aboard the Defiance, Commander Amy Foster coordinated the pack attack from her tactical station. Data flowed between the human ships in real time, creating a shared awareness that let them move as one organism. "Morrison, this is Kim," came Roy Kim's voice over the quantum communication system. "I've got their rear guard cut off. Driving them toward your position now." "Copy, Roy. Brooks, how are you doing with those command ships?" Captain Brooks's voice carried satisfaction. "Just launched boarding pods at their flagship. Zeth Kalar is about to meet some Marines." Master Sergeant Kate Miller led the boarding party that launched from the TCS Retribution toward the alien flagship. Her assault pods were designed to punch through enemy hulls like bullets through paper, delivering human soldiers directly into the heart of enemy ships. "All right, Marines," Miller announced to her team as their pods screamed toward the alien vessel. "Remember what we learned in training. Aliens build their ships for ceremony, not for fighting. Wide corridors, fancy decorations, and no understanding of close-quarters combat." The pod struck the Zephyrian flagship with tremendous force, its cutting lasers boring through the alien hull in seconds. Miller and her team poured into the enemy ship wearing full combat armor and carrying weapons designed for ship-to-ship fighting. The aliens they encountered had never seen anything like human Marines in combat. Miller's team moved through the ship like a precision instrument, stunning or capturing every alien they encountered while fighting their way toward the bridge. War Commander Zeth Kalar heard the sounds of battle echoing through his ship's corridors, metal footsteps, the sharp crack of human weapons, and the terrified cries of his crew as they encountered Earth soldiers for the first time. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, "human soldiers have breached decks 7 through 12. They are fighting their way toward the command section. How many of them are there?" "Our sensors detect 12 humans, sir." Zeth Kalar could not understand how 12 enemy soldiers could fight their way through a ship crewed by 3,000 of the galaxy's finest warriors. But the sounds of battle were getting closer, and his crew's resistance was crumbling before these human predators. Meanwhile, the space battle continued to rage around them. The human fleet had turned the aliens' numerical advantage into a liability, using their superior maneuverability to attack from multiple directions while avoiding return fire. Lieutenant Commander Pete Davis fired the Defiance's kinetic weapons with mechanical precision, each tungsten rod finding its target and punching through alien armor like it was made of cardboard. The enemy ships had been designed to fight energy weapons, not chunks of metal moving at 15% of light speed. Lieutenant Ben Hayes piloted the Defiance through the battle like he was born to it, his hands moving over the controls with instinctive skill. The nuclear pulse engines responded to his commands instantly, allowing maneuvers that would have torn apart any other ship. "Captain," Hayes called out, "I'm reading massive damage to their formation. They're starting to break apart." Morrison studied his tactical display. The alien fleet, which had started the battle in perfect order, was now scattered across the star system. Some ships were trying to flee, others were attempting to regroup, and many were simply floating dead in space. "All ships, this is Morrison," he announced. "Begin final phase. No alien vessel leaves this system." The human ships moved to encircle what remained of the enemy fleet, They had gone from being outnumbered 33-1 to holding a decisive advantage through superior tactics and technology. Captain Kim's voice came over the communication system. "Morrison, we've got about 60 alien ships trying to escape through the outer jump point. Moving to intercept." "Copy, Roy. Brooks, status on the command ship?" "Miller's team has reached the bridge. Zethkalar should be in human custody within minutes." War Commander Zethkalar sat in his command chair, listening to the sounds of his defeat echoing through the ship's corridors. 400 years of perfect victories, and now he was about to be captured by a species he had dismissed as primitive barbarians. The bridge doors exploded inward, and Master Sergeant Miller walked into the command center with her Marines behind her. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room with deadly authority. "War Commander Zethkalar," Miller said, her voice calm and professional. "By order of the Terran Defense Force, you are now a prisoner of war." Zethkalar looked at the human soldier who had defeated his flagship with 12 people. She was unremarkable except for her eyes, which held the confident gaze of a born predator. "How?" he asked in a broken voice. "How did you do this?" Miller smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "War Commander, you just learned the first rule of human warfare. We don't fight fair. We fight to win." Outside, the space battle was ending. Of the 200 ships that had come to destroy humanity, fewer than 30 remained functional. The rest were debris, captured or fleeing in panic toward the edge of the system. Admiral Cole's voice came over the fleet communication system, broadcasting to every ship and every surviving alien. "This is Admiral Marcus Cole of the Terran Defense Force. To any alien vessel still functional, you have one chance to surrender. Lower your..." The news of the Kepler Junction massacre spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 worlds, alien leaders watched the battle recordings with growing horror. The Galactic Council, which had ruled known space for millennia, sat in emergency session as reports flooded in from across their empire. War Commander Zethkalar stood in chains before the council chambers, broadcast live to every major world in the galaxy. His proud purple skin had turned pale gray, and his forearms hung limply at his sides. The greatest military commander in galactic history had been defeated by creatures he had dismissed as primitive barbarians. Ambassador Helen Price walked into the council chambers wearing the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but her presence caused the assembled alien leaders to shift nervously in their seats. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Price began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "I come before you as the representative of humanity. 3 days ago, you sent a fleet to destroy our colonies and enslave our people." The council chamber fell silent. 12 different alien species, each representing billions of citizens across hundreds of worlds, listened as this unremarkable human woman delivered what would become the most important speech in galactic history. "You believed that overwhelming force would guarantee your victory. You were wrong." Price gestured toward the main screen, which showed the wreckage of the alien fleet floating in space around Kepler Junction. 200 ships reduced to scrap metal by 6 human vessels. In the front row of the council chamber, the Zephyrian High Command sat in stunned silence. Their greatest fleet, their finest commander, their proudest moment of galactic unity, all reduced to floating debris by a species they had barely considered worthy of notice. Price continued, her voice calm but carrying an undertone that made the alien leaders uncomfortable. "You wanted to see what a Terran warship could do, now you know. But that was just the beginning." On Earth, General Frank Cooper stood in the command center of the Terran Defense Force, watching the diplomatic proceedings while coordinating humanity's response to the galactic threat. He was a large man with scars from a dozen ground wars, and his presence commanded respect from every officer in the room. "Admiral Grant," Cooper said to his fleet commander, "status report on our expanded operations." Admiral Lisa Grant looked up from her tactical displays, her face showing the satisfaction of a plan executed perfectly. "Sir, our fleets have engaged alien forces in 17 different star systems, victory in every engagement. The human response had been swift and devastating. While the galaxy focused on the dramatic defeat at Kepler Junction, human fleets had struck at every species that had supported the ultimatum, not to conquer their worlds, but to demonstrate that humanity could reach any target they chose. Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, stood beside a holographic display showing the locations of human strikes across the galaxy. She was a young woman with brilliant insights into how different species thought and reacted. "General," Dr. Kim reported, "our psychological analysis indicates that the alien species are experiencing something they've never felt before, genuine fear of a superior predator." Cooper nodded grimly. "Explain." "Every intelligent species in the galaxy evolved from prey animals or peaceful herbivores. Their entire civilization is built around avoiding conflict, negotiating solutions, and using technology to overcome problems." Dr. Kim highlighted various alien worlds on her display. They've never faced persistence hunters before. Back in the council chambers, Ambassador Price was delivering the terms of humanity's response to the alien ultimatum. The species that supported the attack on humanity will provide full reparations for the damage caused. Your fleets will be disbanded, and your military technology surrendered to human oversight. Price's voice remained calm, but her words carried the weight of absolute authority. The Trilaxian representative, a creature that looked like a giant butterfly with rainbow wings, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. "Ambassador Price, surely we can negotiate a more reasonable settlement. The Council has always resolved disputes through peaceful discussion." Price smiled, but there was something in that expression that made the alien leaders uncomfortable. "You declared war on humanity when you demanded our surrender. There are no negotiations in war. There is only victory and defeat." On the main screen, new images appeared showing human fleets in orbit around alien homeworlds. The ships hung in space like dark promises, their weapons trained on the planets below but making no aggressive moves. "Your fleets have been destroyed or captured," Price continued. "Your military commanders are our prisoners. Your shipyards are under human control. You have 72 hours to comply with our terms, or we will demonstrate what human warfare looks like when we stop holding back." The Zephyrian High Chancellor, an ancient being who had ruled his species for 3 centuries, raised one of his 4 arms in a gesture of confusion. "Ambassador, we do not understand. You have already defeated our greatest fleet. What more could human forces possibly do?" Price looked at the alien leader with something that might have been pity. "Your Excellence, the fleet at Kepler Junction was a demonstration. We wanted you to see what one human warship could accomplish, but you still don't understand what you're really facing." The chamber's main screen changed to show a new image that made every alien in the room gasp in shock. Earth hung in space, but it was not the blue and green world they had expected. The planet was gray and brown, covered in what looked like massive industrial complexes. "This is Earth," Price announced. "What you're seeing are our shipyards. We have been building warships for 20 years, ever since we first encountered galactic civilization." The aliens stared at the images in growing horror. The entire planet appeared to be one massive military-industrial complex, producing ships and weapons on a scale that defied comprehension. Dr. Kim's voice came over the communication system from Earth, providing context that would reshape galactic understanding forever. "Members of the Galactic Council, let me explain. What you're looking at. Humans are not peaceful traders who happen to build a few warships. We are a military species that learned to explore space." The screen showed more images of Earth's industrial capacity. Orbital shipyards that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Mining operations that had hollowed out entire moons. In production, facilities that turned raw materials into warships with terrifying efficiency. Every human colony you thought was a peaceful farming settlement includes military production facilities. Every human trade ship can be converted to a weapons platform within hours. Every human civilian has received basic military training. In the council chamber, the alien leaders began to understand the true scope of their mistake. They had not attacked a species of peaceful explorers. They had declared war on a civilization that had spent decades preparing for exactly this moment. General Cooper's image appeared on the main screen, his scarred face showing the hard experience of a lifetime soldier. Members of the Galactic Council, Cooper announced, I am General Frank Cooper, Supreme Commander of Terran Military Forces. Let me be very clear about your situation. The aliens listened with growing dread as the human general outlined their new reality. Humanity has been watching galactic civilization for 20 years. We studied your military doctrine, analyzed your technology, and prepared for the day when you would try to destroy us. Cooper's voice was calm but implacable. You attacked us with 200 ships. We can field 20,000. The number hit the council chamber like a physical blow. 20,000 human warships, each one capable of destroying fleets of alien vessels. But numbers are not our real advantage, Cooper continued. Our advantage is that we understand warfare in ways your species never can. You fight for honor, for tradition, for the glory of your civilizations. Humans fight to win. Ambassador? Price stepped forward again, her diplomatic training allowing her to deliver the final terms with perfect calm. The Galactic Council has 72 hours to comply with our demands. Unconditional surrender, complete disarmament, and reparations for the attack on humanity. She paused, letting the words sink in. If you refuse, human fleets will visit every alien homeworld and demonstrate why our species climbed to the top of Earth's food chain. The Trilaxian representative fluttered his rainbow wings in distress. Ambassador, surely there must be some compromise. The Council has ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. We can find a peaceful solution. Price looked at the alien leader, with the patient expression of a teacher explaining something to a slow student. Your Excellence, peace was possible 72 hours ago. You chose war instead. She gestured toward the images of human fleets surrounding alien worlds. Now you face the consequences of that choice. War Commander Zeth Kalar spoke for the first time since his capture, his voice broken and defeated. Honored Council, do not repeat my mistake. These humans are not like us. They do not fight for glory or honor. They fight like the predators they are. He looked directly at Ambassador Price. Surrender now, while they are still willing to let us live. The council session continued for hours as alien leaders struggled to